What's up, guys? It's Mikey with MMB Barbecue, bringing you some barbecue shit on Thursday. Hopefully you guys are listening to this, and I'm, it's pleasant in your ears. I don't know. We have a really cool show. I talked with Erik. His barbecue podcast, his blog will be launching very soon. But we talked about smoking stuff on a Weber, smoking stuff on different types of grills. He's kind of like me. He started with a Weber kettle, 22-inch. So I feel where he's coming from smoking on that thing. It's a lot of fun, but it's also a lot of hard work. So what we kind of just had some good old-fashioned barbecue chat. You know this fucking show. We don't hold any punches. We just fucking talk. So, yeah. I hope you guys enjoy it. And, fuck everything else. Let's get into the podcast. Here we go. What's up, guys? It's Mikey with MMB Barbecue. We are chatting with Erik. Erik, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, I live in Kansas City. On the Kansas side in particular, and I love cooking outdoors. I cook with a 22-inch Weber kettle. It's not a Gold Series or anything. It's got the little tray for the ash on the bottom and all that, and cook on it probably 3 to 5 times a week.
Awesome. Now, are you still using briquettes, or are you using some lump charcoal?
No, man. I'm lump charcoal all the way.
Awesome. Is there a specific brand that you like over others?
Just whatever I can get my hands on and is consistent. My dad bought Royal Oak for years, and I buy Royal Oak. I tried out another brand just because of availability in the store I was in. It was Cowboy, and it wasn't super consistent. So I try to buy Royal Oak or other bags that seem more consistent than others.
Seem nice, consistent pieces, absolutely.
Yeah, the large pieces, no rocks. It's really depressing when you buy a bag of charcoal and you have like an inch of dust or 5 inches of dust and rocks, on the bottom. So
I have found rocks in Royal Oak. I have found that. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. I
know some other people on the internet obviously have, and people complain about it. But at the end of the day, it is lump charcoal, and they are. It's probably not the easiest thing in the world to manufacture.
For sure.
So, I try to, I do use Cowboy. I've had good consistency with it up here. I use Royal Oak. I use a bunch of different ones, kind of like how you said. It depends on where I am and what I can get my hands on.
Yeah, for sure. Rather recently, and this is the power of social media. I showed a picture on Instagram of my bag experience with my Cowboy bag, and they actually contacted me and wanted to send me a free bag, so they did. I gave them my information. They sent me a free bag. I'm using that right now, and the chunks have been gigantic.
I have noticed that recently. The bag chunks they've been really nice and big. They've been good, solid and you can tell that it's a fucking branch from a tree. You can just, you know what I mean? Like it's not scrap or anything like that. It's a legit chunk that looks really nice. But besides that, let's go from since you are from Kansas City. Are you or you're not? Well, you're originally not from Kansas City, but you're living down there now. But
sure.
Are you a traditional Kansas City kind of barbecue guy, or do you kind of pull from other regions?
No, I definitely pull from other regions. My parents right now are located in North Carolina. So anytime I visit them, I get that Carolina barbecue, man. And it's like that vinegar base sauce. Almost, I've been to a couple places where it's almost like mustardy. and kind of thin. And I love the way they cook their meat there. It's fantastic. And I really like Texas barbecue too. Those are probably my two favorites.
You know that you're gonna get like slaughtered. You're from you're currently living in Kansas City, and you're talking about.
Man, I'll tell you what. My first year that I lived here, I was like, I need to hit up all the barbecue places. Right. I hit up some big ones and some names that have been on like Food Network and stuff like that. I'm not going to name anybody or call anybody out. But I got really disappointed when a lot of the people were saucing before it came to the table. And we're talking like heavy sauce before I even see it. I like cooking meat. I love the taste of just what, a rub or salt and pepper and fire does to that piece of beef or pork or chicken. I don't need ketchup and brown sugar all over it. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I actually had this discussion with one of my friends yesterday. He did a pork shoulder, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta go grab." He's like, "We gotta run out and grab barbecue sauce," and I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "Oh yeah, you don't." He's like, "You don't sauce a lot of your meats," and I'm like, "I don't. Don't get me wrong, I like a good barbecue sauce, but if the meat's good enough, you don't need it." Mm-hmm. I'm a firm believer in that. If you do a good enough job cooking it, you really don't need to slap on, a ton of barbecue sauce. That's just
exactly. No, I totally agree. I feel like some bigger places or some bigger restaurants, they're hiding behind their sauce. And, when you are spending the time and taking time to cook a quality product, it's going to taste fantastic. You're not going to want sauce at all.
And I feel a little bit of that is to get that consistency, especially since a lot of restaurants, they want to put out consistent product. It's kind of like when you go to McDonald's, you want that McDonald's cheeseburger, like the nasty McDonald's cheeseburger, and you know exactly how it tastes. Yeah. So you're like, I want that taste. You want that similar taste. So they kind of probably want that across the board, and that sauce may or may not help them achieve that consistency. For sure.
Yeah. One of the best places I was at in Kansas City, the guy cooks on like a Jambo cooker behind his restaurant. His restaurant is like a room that probably seats about 20 people with a counter, and it's attached to a gas station. And he smokes his meat out there behind the gas station.
That sounds super safe.
Yeah. I mean, whatever. It's like, 50 feet from the fuel, right? Like it's safe. But, man, it is so good because, I mean, he's just out there. He's just cooking, and he loves it, and you can tell he loves it, and it's fantastic.
So he's cooking on Jambo, huh?
Yeah.
Those things are beautiful.
Yeah, they're pretty awesome. Definitely can't have that in my backyard, though.
Hey, I'm just gonna park this here. Really? No, you can't leave that there.
Right.
It'd be pretty badass if you could, though. I mean, I live, obviously, like I've said in previous podcasts, I live in the city, so I definitely don't have anywhere to park that thing.
Yeah, man.
Let alone do I have a vehicle to tow it. I drive a regular car, so towing that fucking thing would not be an option.
Yeah, for sure. So you live in the city. Are you like in a walk-up or?
I am in a walk-up. Yes, I am in a walk-up, and my cooker actually sits in the common area. And everyone's like, "What if somebody steals it?" I'm like, "Well, it sits in a table that's not movable. Mm-hmm. There's no wheels on it, and I have an extra large green egg. It weighs 200 and." I believe it's 260 or 270 plus the table.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you can...
It ain't no kettle.
Yeah, it's not a kettle. When I had my kettle, I had that locked up. But, I mean, it's not like a kettle where you can pick it up and run. Like,
right.
It's going to take a couple dudes.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
You're going to have to get through the gate. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to have to get it through the gate. And the table actually doesn't fit through the gate. You have to put it on its side to fit through.
Sure.
So that means you got to take the cooker out.
Oh, geez.
You know, it's not like it's not a small job if you want to steal this thing.
No.
Not to mention, I mean, someone's going to notice at some point that you're stealing this thing.
No kidding.
And you got to know what it is. You know what I mean? You got to know what it is, and you got to know the value behind it. And
for sure.
Most people don't. Most people just think I'm a crazy asshole that sits outside and cooks.
Yeah. What's that green thing out there?
Exactly. For
sure.
So, with the Weber kettle, what kind of stuff have you done?
Man, I do everything. Like a week ago, I did maple bacon cinnamon rolls.
Ooh,
with some of Meat Church D's nuts.
Ooh, even
sprinkled in the cinnamon mixture, and then I also kind of candied some bacon, some maple bacon, like with the pecan D's nuts rub on there. So it was amazing.
That sounds great. Sounds delicious. Have you tried the fajita rub?
Yeah, I actually just ate that last night.
The fajita rub is awesome. We made some fajitas with it the other night, and can't complain about it. It works awesome. Tastes good, man. Good flavor.
Yeah.
Just worked out really well.
It was beautiful. I put it on chicken. I made some lime chicken and some enchiladas, and I put it in my enchilada mixture as well. Just some veggie and cheese enchiladas. Nothing super special. But that chicken, it was just like, oh my gosh. Like, I kind of had to take a minute, like collect myself, and like sit there and go, wow, this is super good. Very flavorful.
It's great. We actually, one of my buddies threw it on the pork shoulder that we did yesterday. He did salt and pepper and then the fajita rub.
Yeah.
On a pork shoulder. And it came out phenomenal. Just phenomenal.
Yeah. It was so tasty. Not like overly spicy. I've used some other seasonings and products, and I've even made my own. And then sometimes, like, you're taking it off the grill, you're getting ready to eat like your fajitas or whatever, and you're like, oh my God, I had no idea what I was doing. This is so spicy. Like,
you're like, shit, I don't even know if I can eat this.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of get the milk ready. Like, no, it was super good, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. Now, what are some of your other go-to seasonings?
I've been kind of stuck recently using all the Meat Church stuff. I bought all 6, and I've just been putting it on everything. And I mean everything. It's kind of getting ridiculous. I'm pretty sure my wife is wondering, like, if we've got other spices in the cabinet.
She's like, does anything else come out of there? Like, can we?
Yeah, exactly. For sure. To be honest, a big go-to for me for a long time, especially grilling on a kettle, is salt and pepper.
Yeah.
Flat out. Just salt and pepper. You're doing a steak, salt and pepper,
Yep. I mean, you can't go wrong with salt and pepper. It's
no.
It's the basis of any good, I feel the basis of any good beef rub. Pork needs it. I mean, every meat needs a little bit of salt and pepper, and for a very long time, all I was putting on my steaks was salt and pepper. People were like, oh, why don't you use this, steak rub? And I was like, yeah, no, salt and pepper is what you need, and that it'll taste great. Salt and pepper, that's it. And then I did get Holy Cow and started using that, and that's kind of taken over my salt and pepper.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know. It's so simple, but it's so good. I don't know, the way when you're cooking over a fire, on that grill, it's so simple, and the flavors are so complex from the simplicity. And sometimes I'll get weird and I'll throw like some coffee on a steak or, do some stuff like that. But man, keeping it simple, most times than not is the way to go.
I think a lot of people overthink barbecue more times than not. I've talked to a couple people, and I've talked to people about a couple rubs that they have, and then you start reading the ingredient list, and I'm like, this is a laundry list of fucking spices. What did you do? Like, what didn't you put in here? And it's like, oh, well, I put this. I'm like, do you just want to take your entire spice rack and just drop it all in there and let's hope it fits?
Right.
And they're like, well, what do you do? I'm like, salt and pepper. It tastes the same. Like if it's a good cut of meat, even if it's not a great cut of meat, I'm not talking about, going to your, Wagyu briskets or like Wagyu beef. Good cut of meat, throwing salt and pepper on it, that's going to bring out its natural flavors. Like, I've always been a big fan. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of sauce. So the meat has to have flavor. I need flavor coming out of the meat. And
for sure,
I think if you cook it right, you cook it well, that flavor is going to come out, and you're going to love it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a no-brainer for me. But I do like chili powders and different things like that. I actually bought some from a local grower in Springfield, Missouri. Pam's Produce. You know who Tim Shelburne is, right?
We do know Tim Shelburne. Tim's an awesome dude.
Good deal.
That's his parents, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yeah. And I had been seeing him talking about that, and I was like, that's so cool. I've gardened before and grown peppers and stuff, so I bought some of that stuff, and it's so fresh. It's just so good. There's heat, but since it's fresh, it's not like, this like overwhelming heat. It's fantastic. I love it.
We actually, one of my friends, they grew some peppers, and I took them and I have a food dehydrator, and I dehydrated the peppers, and then I cut them up and put them into a rub, and it came out awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was super. I mean, it gave you a nice little spice, and since they were fresh as hell, so it wasn't like it was an old dehydrated pepper that's been there forever. It still had its natural flavoring, which was great.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I always wonder, when I'm at the store buying stuff, like, how long has this been sitting here? So it's good to like, see the pictures of like her garden, and it's like, well, we're going to be growing stuff, and it's like, oh man, like it's super exciting to be able to watch like how your product is made and done, and you're like, man, I bought that. That's awesome.
It's kind of like that whole farm to table that's becoming a very big trend right now. More and more people want to know where their food's coming from. More and more people want, and they're looking outside the box per se. And when I say the box, I mean like that little that little cardboard box that you put in your freezer and you take out. And you're like, oh, this is perfect. Really? Like, okay, cool. I feel like it does make a big difference when there's not as many hormones in the food. Grass-fed beef over, food that's mass-produced. And I get it. You're going to pay a little bit more. I understand that. And you have to. I mean,
right.
For a farm that can only raise, so many cows, I mean, they gotta make a living. And so, everyone else has to make a little bit of money off of it. But sometimes it's weird. You can go and buy half a cow or, a full cow and get it butchered, and it's the same damn price or cheaper than getting mass-produced.
For sure.
Cow. Obviously, if you don't have storage for this, it's quite difficult. Yeah, for sure. You got to have that freezer in your garage or basement or whatever. Yeah, which, I mean, I don't have the storage for that, so I'm stuck with buying, way more expensive meat because I can't buy in the quality or the quantity that I'd like to. But as far as that goes, I get why it's, more expensive.
Sure.
It's kind of got to be. But more and more restaurants, I don't know how they are in Kansas City, but more and more Chicago restaurants are saying, you're buying product from 50 miles away. We're only within 100 miles of our restaurant. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we're seeing the same exact stuff here. Restaurants are trying to create relationships with farmers. They're growing their herbs and things like that on their rooftops, or wherever they can find community gardens and things like that. More often than not, you're seeing a lot more quality local places doing that, making those relationships, taking that step so that they can get those quality products.
Exactly. And I think, it comes through. It really does.
Mm.
And I think we spoke with Chandler from Lyle's Barbecue, and we were talking about how some people don't believe that barbecue, or some people believe that barbecue should be a very cheap meal. That it shouldn't be, it shouldn't break the bank.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I'm a firm believer in, I don't want to go get a pulled pork sandwich for $40. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But an $8 pulled pork sandwich or a $10 pulled pork sandwich isn't exactly brutal to me.
Right. No, exactly. Especially when you've got joints, doing the $4.99 bit. Here's a $4.99 sandwich. It's like, okay, what is this? What are you serving me? And I've, eaten my fair share of cheap barbecue, and it's greasy, it's mealy, it's it's not a fantastic barbecue. And I'm happy to pay whatever to taste that quality in my meat. Going to the butcher.
You got to start to wonder too when you got a $4 barbecue sandwich, $4 pulled pork sandwich, and you're like, okay, wait a minute. Okay, pulled pork is roughly, obviously they're buying in bulk, so bear with us, America. But let's say they do buy in bulk and they're getting it at $1.50 a pound.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's at least $1.50 a pound. You're getting a sandwich is probably half a pound, so technically it's costing them 75 cents in product. And I'm excluding a rub there, and I'm excluding all the spices that they have to buy to make this shit happen. Now, you got to think the cooker that they had to purchase.
Mm-hmm.
They had to buy wood or charcoal, whatever they're using.
Right.
If they're using propane, they had to buy the propane. Electric's not free. So no matter what, they're purchasing something, plus the time that it takes to cook this damn thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Because where's the profit?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I don't know. Sometimes, I would wonder if it's being cooked there, too. There are definitely some places I've been to. I'm like, ooh, I'm pretty sure they didn't cook this here, or it was prepared off site or whatever. So, but we've got barbecue all over the board in Kansas City. You've got places that are okay. You've got places that you don't want to go to, but you've got some guys doing some real stuff, and it's fantastic.
I'm sure there's some killer barbecue there. There's got to be. It's Kansas City.
For sure. For sure.
It's one of the capitals of barbecue. So
yeah, man.
If they don't have good barbecue, I think I'd be bummed out. I can't find any good barbecue in Kansas City. Be like, really? Yeah. I can understand if you say can't find any barbecue you like. I don't like Kansas City barbecue. I like, I like only Texas barbecue. Okay, yeah, I get it. But if there's not a good place for some burnt ends.
Oh man. Don't even get me started. Oh, I love burnt ends.
Now, I've done a couple briskets on a Weber kettle.
Sure.
Have you done any?
Not on the one I currently own right now. I haven't done any on the one that I have. growing up, my dad had a Weber kettle, and pretty much we cooked everything on there. I remember one Thanksgiving we did the family turkey, and we were going to have like 15 people over, and we smoked and grilled like this 25-pound turkey. So me, myself, on the Weber grill that I have right now, I haven't cooked a brisket yet on it. I'm so stoked because Memorial Day, it's on, man. It is on.
It is on. Awesome. This podcast will actually come out after Memorial Day. But so what are your thought processes in going into the brisket? Now, I guess we can do it that way because
Sure.
I've cooked a couple briskets on there, and there has been a couple not drawbacks, I guess a couple what's the word I'm looking for here? Challenges. There's challenges with cooking a brisket on anything.
Sure.
Let alone a Weber kettle.
Sure.
That's not really, I mean, the kettle's not built to smoke.
No.
You know,
no,
it's not made to do that. But it can. I mean, any cooker can smoke.
Sure.
So what are some of the challenges that you think you're going to face with making a brisket on that kettle?
Sure. Number one, I think the biggest challenge that you face having a Weber is keeping your charcoal fed, keeping it going, and keeping it low. It'll eat up charcoal, and not like insanely. It doesn't just burn it up out of the blue. But if you're talking hours a cook, and like 3-4 hours is on the low end. If you're cooking 8, 10, 12, you've got to babysit that thing. You've got to feed it. You've got to know how much to feed it and when. You got to keep that fire going, but you don't want it to get too hot either, because then you're talking, you're shortening up your cook time, and especially if you want to keep it low and slow, you want to smoke it. So I think the first challenge that I've had cooking anything for a really long extended period of time is keeping that charcoal even. Temperature-wise.
Now, do you go two zone temperature? I mean, like, are you putting your meat straight in the middle and then throwing some charcoal on both sides? Are you going one side's your fuel, one side's your meat, one side's your product?
Sure, I do. Typically, I do one side is the fuel, one side is the product. And then I leave the grate on the side open. I've got one of those grill grates where it opens on either side. Weber sells those for $25.
I think some of them actually come with that now too.
Yeah, some of them do. I know the Gold Series does. It comes with that as its original grate. Yeah. But I do that typically just because I find it easier to add the charcoal when you need to add it.
Yeah.
I had a lot of experiences where you try to add it on either side and you get charcoal falling in the middle, and you're like, crap, well, that's never going to get lit, and it's just going to sit there, and I can't take this thing off to move that around. You know what I mean? And it'll start to cascade stuff down the sides. So then you're talking, okay, well, now I got to buy those things that hold the charcoal in.
But those are also pretty hard to feed into.
Yes.
When you're trying not only to expose all of your meat, or
yeah.
You're trying to do that job as fast as possible, especially in a Weber kettle, to keep that temperature as accurate as possible.
Yeah, no kidding. You're opening the lid, so you're letting out all your smoke, and you're dropping the temperature
dramatically.
Yeah, I would say conservatively 75 to 100 degrees, on open. You know what I mean? You're losing your oven. Somebody asked me the other day, why not open a grill? They were just talking about grilling. Why not open and shut it and check stuff? I said, do you crack your oven open when you bake a pizza? And they're like, well, no. I said, leave your oven open next time when you're trying to cook a pizza.
Yeah, it'll work really well. Your whole house will be 9,000 degrees, and that pizza will be frozen in that fucking thing.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, that's the challenge, you know. And when I've cooked large pieces of meat, I did a chicken a couple weeks ago. I did like a beer can chicken.
Okay.
And I smoked it for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, keeping it real low, right? Whole chicken.
What are we doing real? Are we doing 200 or are we doing 225?
I don't have like a thermometer, but I've got a pretty good guess as to feel. So I was around probably that 250 range.
Okay.
Really. You know, a little on the hot side of things. Now, obviously, it probably evens out because you start to get cool, and then you feed the charcoal, and then it heats up again. So probably talking about the cool times and then the hot times, it was probably around a 250.
Okay.
And you know, when you're doing that, you basically like have your charcoal bag right next to the grill. You've got everything ready to go.
God,
I've got like a handful of charcoal. Do what?
I said I remember these days where it's like, okay, hold on, let's do this as fast as possible.
Yeah. You kick it open, the smoke hits you, close your eyes or look away so you're not burning like as you're trying to get it in there. And then you got to jam it down in there and then you shut it. So, you know, and then you're sitting there going, I had to do it. But, oh man, I just lost all that smoke, but I had to do it. So.
And then you have to worry about, it's very difficult to get a nice clean smoke. Mm-hmm. You also have to worry about, is that charcoal going to light? Did I get it in the right spots?
Yep.
Did I put too much? Is it going to heat up too quickly?
Right.
There's just so many variables, but I love seeing people smoking on a Weber just because I feel like if you can smoke on a Weber, you can pretty much cook on anything. Yeah.
Yeah. I do feel that way. It's kind of like, you know, when you do something like the hard way for so long and then somebody's like, well, here's a microwave. Like, you don't have to do anything anymore. You can now, you know, cook in the microwave or heat stuff up in there. Like, Weber is not built for smoking. You can do it. Yeah. It's feasible. You know, it's fun for me. This is kind of weird, but I kind of like it. I like sitting in my lawn chair, staring at that thing, with a drink in my hand and like, all right, you got to feed it, you know, and you set your timer on your phone and all that stuff.
Oh,
I love
absolutely.
It.
Yeah, I do love all of that. I love it. It's fun. It was definitely fun. The only thing that sucked was smoking in the winter.
Yeah.
It's a brutal one.
Yeah. When you're doing that in the cold and I'm going to throw this out there. When you don't have a big green egg and you're trying to do that in the winter time and you don't have that insulation.
You eat charcoal. That thing eats charcoal.
Yeah. It's costly.
Oh, I remember going through 3/4 of a bag on a 6-hour cook. Mm-hmm. Just to keep 225, 250. Like I was like, oh, we'll make some spare ribs. Let's do this. It's, you know, negative 10 degrees outside.
Yeah.
And then feeding that fire when it's that cold, it's even worse. I mean, that grill's not insulated at all. You know what I mean? Trying to keep that is insane.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've had my fair share of grilling out in the cold, and then you got that 40-mile-an-hour wind kicking up, and you're just you're just like, dude, like, what am I doing?
I think almost every single blizzard I've ever been in here, I've barbecued in, and I get the weirdest stares. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm cooking dinner.
Yeah.
They're like, it's snowing outside and you're standing out there. I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, you got to do it. There's no, you know, you'll see like the little like Facebook and Instagram posts like, hey guys, it's almost grilling season. I'm like,
it didn't when did it end? I didn't get the ending memo.
Yeah. I didn't realize that people stopped. I didn't.
I think more and more people are going year round. I think way more and more people are going year round grillers, which I think is great. Makes people want to maybe listen to my show all year round.
Yeah, there you go, man. No, I feel like more and more, it's getting like really, really mainstream. And I know that sounds kind of weird, like what barbecue hasn't been mainstream, but so many people like that I knew in my neighborhood growing up, man, they had the propane grill, and they're doing that, and they did burgers, and that was about it. People, are doing weird stuff. They're putting it on the internet, they're sharing recipes with friends, the Kamado cookers are getting super popular, whether it's Big Green Egg or another brand, like it's getting super popular.
Kamado
People
Joe, Primo, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And you taste that stuff long enough, you crave it. And it doesn't matter if it's January and it's 15 outside. You want that experience.
I think the big thing with Kamado cookers on why they're pushing past so many other smokers or so many other cookers is the wide variety that you can do with this thing.
Yeah.
You can do so much. And you can do it. It doesn't matter what temperature it is outside. It really doesn't. I was cooked this past Super Bowl Sunday. I did what did we do? We did ribs, I believe. We did ribs and some pork tenderloin.
Awesome.
And that's what we smoked. And I kept 225 like a champ for 5.5 hours.
Wow.
And it didn't change a bit. That thing was just rock solid 225. It didn't matter if the wind was blowing or snow was snowing. And it was snowing. I mean, it was coming down pretty hard on it. But that needle, like that temperature needle just buried itself at 225 and just stayed there. And that's the beautiful thing about those cookers. And I think that's why so many people across the country are moving to them, because not everyone has, that, beautiful Texas weather all year round.
Right.
That, cooking on a, Weber kettle does, if it's 50 degrees, you can still cook on the kettle. It's not a huge
For sure.
I mean, when it gets to negative 40, cooking on that kettle's getting costly.
Yeah. For sure, man. I love the Weber kettle. I grew up cooking on a Weber kettle. I cook on one now. But yeah, man, you're talking about wind and stuff. The scariest thing for a Weber owner is popping open that lid when there's some wind to turn or check your stuff or whatever. Because it'll come across the top of that thing, and it's like blowing across the top of a bottle. You'll have flame in your charcoal before you know it. It doesn't matter if you're using briquettes or lump. Like it'll pop a flame, and especially if you don't want that to happen, like it'll happen.
Yeah, that's the other thing that I always found difficult with smoking on the kettle is you throw a couple pieces in there, and if it's super windy, it's popping flame right away on you. So you're like, damn, that's dramatically getting hotter.
Yeah, so you're shutting your lids. Quick. Yeah, and you're playing with the little vents on the bottom. Thank God now they've got like the blades going. I remember the old school ones where it was the same. Yes, man, on the bottom, and you had to like turn them like each individual.
That's rough.
Yeah.
It's definitely rough. And that's the other thing you have to worry with the kettle is how much oxygen are you putting in there? You got to make sure that vent is perfectly set to let just a little bit of oxygen in, or just enough oxygen in, not to kill that fire, but also not to choke it down too much.
Right.
Now, are you smoking with a water pan since you're using the kettle?
Yes and no. If I'm not doing it for long, extended periods of time, I'm not doing a water pan. If I am doing it for a really long time, I do throw one in there, but I don't put in much water at all. And basically, I'll put in about an inch of water.
Okay.
That's about it. A lot of people think that's crazy, but I kind of put it right under the meat. And, I keep the temperature. Yeah. So it kind of catches the drippings as well. And it kind of just creates like a weird steam reaction in there. And I feel like I don't, I mean, this is if I'm not opening it a ton, but I feel like I don't, it's not drying up on me or anything. I feel like an inch of water, maybe 2 inches, if you're doing something really big, is enough. I see people fumbling with like over half, like a drip pan, like a Weber, like disposable drip pan. They fill it up like halfway, 75% of the way up. I haven't had to do that, and I don't want to do that necessarily. So, but I also don't have my coals anywhere near it really either, because I've got them on the one side. So I keep the meat on the other side, and then I have the drip pan more toward the meat, like where it is. So
see, that's what I always find is, you're kind of, limited on space on the Weber kettle when you're smoking, especially when you're,
for sure,
you got the coals on the one side and then you get your product on the other. So you're putting your meat as close to that other side as possible, and or whatever product you are smoking. It doesn't have to be meat. It could be cheeses. It could be whatever you want. Although cold smoking on a Weber kettle, I do not advise.
No,
it probably is one of the. I don't even know if it's doable, but it might be. I would be up for the challenge to try it, but I don't think it'd be easy.
I feel like that would be like a barbecue challenge. Like,
that would be like, I feel like you'd have to put like two pieces of lump charcoal in there at a time. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
Like 2 pieces lit and then like 1 piece on top.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like big pieces. I mean like little lump charcoal pieces. Just kind of let it go slowly. For sure. If even that, like maybe just 1 lump charcoal piece and like 1 unlit piece. To keep it really, really down.
Oh, jeez. But yeah, don't know if it's possible.
I'm not sure if it's possible. If anyone's out there in the internet world and cold smokes on a Weber, let me know. I'd love to talk to you about how the hell you do that shit.
No kidding. And I want your phone number and I want video evidence.
Yeah, I want proof. I want some actual photos that it was possible.
For sure.
But I mean, you can smoke anything that you want if you're smoking vegetables or whatever you want. But you are limited on real estate on the kettle, and that's one of the reasons I did move away from it. I thought about going to a Smoky Mountain, and I was gonna go that route just because it is a little bit more affordable. That is one of the beautiful things about a Weber kettle. The damn thing's super affordable. I mean, it's $125?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, really? Can you get a better? I mean, there's grills out there that are $300 that I'm like, I choose the Weber kettle over.
For sure.
Like, I'll smoke on the Weber, or I'll cook on the Weber kettle over that grill every day of the week.
For sure.
And I feel like when I was looking into purchasing something different, that's kind of what drew me to the Kamado cooker, to the Big Green Egg, is the versatility and how much I can do all in one. You get into, I mean, if you get in a Smoky Mountain, I mean, you can grill on it if you take the water pan out, but still, I mean, I don't really want to have to do it that way.
No. Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, if I get that, I'll have to have the Smoky Mountain and I'll have to have my kettle. I don't know if I want
Then you're starting you're starting a collection of items that you've got to keep track of. And
Yep.
Yeah. And I definitely I definitely want a Kamado for sure, but I don't know. And I say this now, maybe it'll be different when I get my Kamado cooker, but I definitely want to keep my Weber.
Oh, I still have my Weber. I kept my Weber.
Good deal.
Yeah. I don't think I can go away from it. I don't use it as often.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong. Don't use it as often, but still do. It works very well. But man, the big green egg, pretty much do anything you put it up against. Pretty much anything. So, let's switch the conversation over to a little bit more about you and ask you a couple more questions.
Cool.
Now, what kind of, besides, are you smoking with any kind of chunks or any types of other wood?
Yeah, wood chunks. That's pretty much what I do is just chunks. I don't really do chips a whole lot.
What kind of flavors?
Oh man, all of it. Shoot, apple, cherry, peach, whatever. Right now, I've got apple and cherry wood like in my garage, but I love it all.
I've been trying to get a hold of more and more unique woods. I'm on a pretty big orange wood kick currently still.
Nice.
I'm really, really happy with the flavor that orange wood gives me on pork. It's just, and you need like 2 or 3 pieces, and it just gives you this great flavor.
I bet it's so floral.
It's more citrusy. Very,
really?
Yeah, it gives you a nice citrus. Yeah.
Wow. Because I kind of imagine almost like a hop. I don't know, like a floral note, to the nose and stuff like that. But the citrus, that'd be awesome, especially on pork. That'd be super awesome.
It's awesome, especially it pairs really well with the rubs that I put on it. It just works. It's just awesome. I got a good buddy of mine too on an orange wood kick. He's like, I don't know what it is. He's like, dude, that shit's awesome. And
that's so cool.
I'm like, yeah, dude, I have no idea why. But it is. It's just awesome.
That's super
I do want to get some grapefruit. I really want some grapefruit wood, but I can't find anywhere that supplies it right now. I know that they have some in Arizona, and I am trying to get my hands on some. That's the other hard part of living in the city is there's not much choice of woods. I mean, I can go to Home Depot, and they give me the basic. They'll give you cherry, apple. I think sometimes they carry peach. Now, the grilling store that I do go to carries a little bit more. They'll carry black cherry, oak wood, which is where I get my oak from, because I don't smoke on hickory anymore. I feel like everyone's smoking with hickory, and I'm just over it.
I'm bored with that flavor for sure.
Yeah, that and like I never use mesquite. Mesquite is way too strong for my personal palate.
Yeah. No, it's not delicate at all. It's super spicy, and it'll overtake your meat like in an instant.
Yeah. So I don't mess around with mesquite. I really do like my orange wood, and I use my cherry wood for my beef. And sometimes I use apple, and I'm not. I mean, I'm not messing around with too much stuff, but I want to try grape. I hear grape's pretty cool. It's a nice mellow flavor. So it's just trying to get my hands on it. And shipping wood is not cheap.
No.
Let me tell you guys, shipping wood is not cheap. You may be able to buy it for cheap because I'm like, oh, dude, this site's perfect. It's cheap wood. And then they're like, oh, by the way, shipping's $20. And I'm like, oh. Yeah. So this, like, good deal isn't really a good deal anymore.
Yeah, no kidding.
So
yeah, I want to do some sassafras wood.
Ooh.
I was in a grill store just yesterday, and they had piles of that stuff, sassafras, all over the place.
All right, you'll have to pick some up and let us know how you like it.
Yeah, for sure.
Because like I said, it's so hard to get good wood out here. It really is. You get your basics, but sometimes you just don't want the basics. You want something different.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the weird thing. So, don't want to take up too much of your time. We're coming up to about 48 minutes of this podcast. if you can give us, I always ask all of our guests, if you can give us 3 grilling tips that you could give. So maybe it's 3 grilling tips on if somebody's trying to get into smoking on a Weber kettle, or if somebody, is looking to buy their first Weber kettle or looking to buy their first Weber. What kind of tips would you give these people?
Sure. Number one, I would say don't be afraid of your grill. Don't be afraid of your Weber kettle or whatever you buy or whatever you get. If you're getting into it, I feel like so many people are afraid and they throw the hot dogs and they throw the hamburgers on there and feel as if they're doomed to forever grill hamburgers and hot dogs. Don't be afraid of what your grill can do. You'll mess food up. You will, and you will have nights. You will have nights where you eat charcoal because you messed it up, but you learn from those experiences for
You're
sure.
Like, I'm eating this. I don't give a shit. That's kind of
for sure. I think number 2, especially if you're smoking meat on a Weber. We kind of hit this up before, but man, don't open the lid unless you have to. Set a timer. Be conscious of your time. Be conscious of what you're doing. Don't forget about it. Open that lid only when you need to add more stuff to the fire. And don't throw in a bunch of hardwood for your smoke right at the beginning either. Pace that junk out. You don't want to just hit it all at once. I like to add a couple pieces at the beginning and then maybe add a couple more pieces, but don't, especially if you're soaking them, don't hit it up with like 8 pieces all at once. Now,
are you a dry or are you a soaker?
I do both. If I'm doing, long extended periods of time, 8, 10, 12 hours, I'll soak the wood. But if I'm doing short stuff, I'll do it dry. Or if I don't want as intense of a flavor, I'll do it dry. I feel, and maybe this is just in my head, but I feel like dry wood is a little bit tamer on the smoke than wet.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know, and maybe it's in my head, but I feel like it doesn't smoke up and billow up as much. But also, you're not cooling your fire down either. So
yeah, I guess it's it's kind of a give and take there with what you're doing.
Sure.
I could see that. I could totally see that. That's another reason why I like using why I actually use a water pan is if you are, it cools it down just a couple degrees, especially if you're smoking in a Weber kettle. That was a big reason of why I liked using the water pan. If I was running a little bit hot, I would, definitely throw some, cold water or cool water in there. I wouldn't throw it on the meat or anything, but I would throw it in there and it would drop that temperature just a little bit.
Yeah, splash it. Yeah.
So it would work really well.
Yeah. Tip number 3, for those of you that are wanting to buy a Weber kettle or looking into starting to like grill like hardcore, like you're really wanting to do this for real and you're like, I'm going to buy a Weber and try this stuff out before I commit to like something bigger. The classic Weber kettle with the pan is cool. It's all right. I think we even mentioned it's like $125 or so. Sometimes you can get on sale certain places. Don't worry about, well, do I want this model? Do I want that? Get the simple one. It's just as good as anything else that you're going to find out there. I enjoy my 22-inch classic original Weber kettle.
Yeah, I would say I wouldn't just for size and real estate of the grill. A 22-inch is a beautiful size.
Yeah,
especially in a kettle. It's a beautiful size. At least that's how I feel. I feel like the 18's a little bit too small, just a little bit. Especially if you want to smoke on it. You're starting to really, really get tight into what you can and can't do.
Yep.
And then the 26-inch, that thing's a monstrosity. The thing's huge. And I mean, I guess I really don't have any room to talk because I have a extra large big green egg. But even that 26-inch Weber kettle is a little bit bigger than my egg. But I just feel like that for your average backyard barbecuer, a 22 is just so perfect.
Yeah, for sure. And, just especially when you're just getting like started, like building up and, really wanting to get into cooking a lot, that 22-inch can teach you a lot of things about real estate and things like that. It gets a lot bigger the more you use it. And you sit here and you go, oh, wow, I didn't know I could do all this.
That is true. It does. It gets a lot bigger the more you use it. I could do this to make this happen, and do this to make this happen, and it's just crazy how big it really can become without you even thinking about it.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Erik, we want to thank you for coming on the show. We had a great time chatting with you, and hopefully,
thanks.
We'll get you back on it at some point. But maybe we'll get you back on it once you get that big green egg, and we'll be able to chat some of the differences that you feel. Sure. But once again, thank you so much for being on the show, listeners. Guys, I hope you guys like this podcast that we did. Erik was just kind of one of our Instagram followers, and he hit me up and he was like, "I'd love to be on the show." And we made it happen. And that's the whole point of the show, is to share the love. And I feel like not enough people are willing to say, hey, I'll come talk barbecue. We have such a cool community out here. So, Erik, we want to thank you for being one of those cool people that was willing to come chat barbecue with us.
Yeah, Mikey. Thanks for having me, man.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, that was our podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. You listened to it for the last, hour of your life, so hopefully it was worth it. Fuck. If it was worth it, please help us out. Give us a couple more minutes of your life. You do every Thursday and a couple days in between. So if you could run over to iTunes or Stitcher, give us a 5-star review. Tell us how you fucking like the show. Tell us that you fucking hate me. I don't know. Tell me how you don't like my fucking cursing language. I don't know. But hey, that's what you get here. So I just want to say thank you so much for listening to the show. It's been a couple months since we've been on, and if you want to be a guest on the show, if you just want to come talk barbecue, dude, that's who we want to talk to. We want to talk to good people who barbecue and can give cool barbecue tips. We can all learn from each other, and it's just it's a community, and that's what we're here for. So once again, guys, you can find us on every social media at Man Meat Barbecue. And email us if you want to be on the show, manmeatsbarbecue@gmail.com, website manmeatbarbecue.com. Hopefully we see you guys soon. So once again, guys, have a good weekend.